Good morning, and thanks for showing up. It means a lot. I really hope that you enjoyed today's presentation and find it helpful. We were just chatting a little, and are you going to tackle gaming? Are you going to tackle this? What I'm tackling today is a bit of a mindset shift, and I really hope that you can find something in here that helps you out. So today we're going to talk about how to go from digital parenting fatigue to digital well-being. Before we start, how many of you here are, raise your hand if you're a parent of an ES, elementary school, okay, middle school, and high school? Awesome, we have all three. Please raise your hand if your child has a phone. Perfect, and I assume they're all gaming, playing Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, social media? Okay, Snapchat? TikTok? Okay, great. Before we go on, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a mom above everything else. I have a 9th grader and a 6th grader, and we've been at ASD since 2013. It's our 11th year here. My journey to what I'm about to show you right now started in this room 7 years ago with Miss Sue-Ann Wallen, who used to be the counselor for elementary school. And it was a Talk Tuesday. We started a book club called The Whole Brain Child and No Drama Discipline. And that is when my eyes opened up to a whole new world of parenting, child development, all of that. Within a few years, I started the Middle East's leading Arabic parenting podcast, and I ran that for 5 years running because there was just really a gap in parenting information in Arabic. Somewhere along the line in 2020, I decided to pursue a master's in psychology. And 2 weeks ago, I'm actually now a licensed psychologist, took my test, and thank you. And soon I'll be practicing out of a clinic in Dubai. Apart from the master's, I'm also a digital well-being coach and consultant and a parenting coach. But again, the biggest qualification I have is that I live this firsthand. With my own 2 kids. So as a parent, I really share your feelings and I relate to all your frustrations and I experience what you're experiencing. I get it. As a coach, I've spoken to so many clients who are really frustrated, exhausted, overwhelmed, like our kids are not looking up from their devices. Yet, I still have hope. And as a researcher for the last couple of years, I do know what the digital landscape looks like, and today I'd like to share that with you. So how did we end up with digital parenting fatigue? Who's tired? Who's overwhelmed? Everybody. All right. Over the last few years, I've been really digging deep into this, and I found that there were 4 main drivers, particularly in the last few years since COVID, that drove the accelerated tech use and the adoption of tech so quickly amongst our kids. The first one is that, whether we like it or not, we live in a very unique society. The UAE is a very high-tech, intensely digital urban landscape. Our social technology saturation here is 99%. That means literally almost everyone has an active internet connection, uses the social media. We are the economic and tech hub of the Arab world. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but the UAE is the only country in the world that has an AI minister. Literally, like, so if there's a cabinet, he's the only one there. But we have an AI minister, and we're moving in that direction. We're also the second highest, we also have the second highest median income globally, which means money isn't an issue. So unlike other countries where parents might not be able to afford a phone or the latest Xbox or a PlayStation or the laptops that we need to buy for school, money isn't an option. I mean, it's not a barrier. Apart from that, we also live in a very multicultural society. But here's the kicker. Kids here are amongst the youngest globally to own portable devices in the UAE.
What do you think is the drive behind that?
Sorry?
What do you think is the factor behind the children having the youngest children?
That statistic actually came out in 2018 from a Norton study. I'm going to go through it soon. The second factor that is driving why we're taking accelerated tech to whole new levels is a generational divide. So technology use is where we have the largest generational gap of all time. When your kids, and my kids, look at devices, they only see the benefits. When we look at devices, we mostly see the dangers, the risks, and the pitfalls. We were the last generation to straddle both analog and digital. We saw and experienced and understood existence in both worlds. We knew boredom, we knew creativity. Gen Z and Gen Alpha were born into this. They do not have an alternate reality of life before tech. And so to them, online and offline is one and the same, and they are inextricable from one another. The third factor that plays a role here, social comparison. This is my favorite theory from everything I've learned in psychology. It's a theory that came out in the 1950s, which states that in the absence of objective information, we will look at others because we have this innate drive to evaluate ourselves in front of other people, comparing to other people, so that we can judge ourselves and know how are we doing. There's no manual, there's no guide, there's no report card. So what do? We look at others. And it's how we make judgments about ourselves in relation to other people. Now, during and post-COVID, when there was a serious lack of parental guidance and an explosion of like, we're all at home, we need to socialize, it's something our kids need, we started giving devices. If any of you had preteens or teens during COVID, I don't know about you, but with me, it all started with Fortnite. It was all like, but mom, how am I gonna socialize? All my friends are on Fortnite, can I get Fortnite? And then it just kind of like kept going from there. And I know so many people relate to that. And the last factor is obviously that tech can be addictive. We really are all hooked to our devices. Whether we want to admit it or not, we're all using them for many reasons. There is a bit of a difference in how we use them and how our kids use them. And it's nobody's fault. They were made that way. And tech in and of itself is really not a problem, but the way we are overusing it is. So, to take these 4 things into consideration and to give you an example of what that looked like in real life. Affluent, high-tech society. Mom, I'm the only one in school that doesn't have a phone, or Snapchat, or TikTok, or an Apple Watch. Now, because of the high socioeconomic status in Dubai, like I said, device affordability isn't an issue. And what didn't help parents is that because we're also very high-tech, schools require iPads within school from like 1st grade. We need laptops from 6th grade. So even though parents were trying to take it back, my homework is online. And then with the generational divide, parents say, I just don't get it. You're really too young. When I was your age, I was playing outside. I knew boredom. I had creativity. You're always online. Then you've got social comparison. And this is where I think 90% of people here, and this is from my research, actually went through this. I don't want my kid to be left out. I get my kid coming home saying, Mom, I'm the only one who doesn't know what's going on in recess because everybody's talking about it online and you won't let me have Snapchat. Even the school is sending out invitations in high school on Snapchat or TikTok or something like it was one of those things that I heard, okay? And now I'm hearing from my child, that they're not included. They come to school, there's nicknames for people and things that are happening socially. And as a child, when your social capital is the most important thing, right? You're gonna feel left out. And so as a parent, we feel guilty. We're like, I don't want my child to be socially isolated. I don't want my child to be the only one. You look around, everybody's got a device. And almost everybody has social media. Not everybody, but almost everybody. Why should my child be different? But here's the thing. We know tech is designed to be addictive. And the problem is, we did all this, we gave the devices, we gave the Fortnite, we gave the Roblox, we gave the Minecraft, one thing pulled the next, and the toothpaste is out of the tube. Can we actually put it back? The short answer is no, but there's a lot that we can do, all right? All right, so where are we now? This is the statistic that I was talking about that drew my attention to start this research. And it's that 43% of kids aged 5 to 11 have a smartphone. This is from 2018. That's 6 years ago.
That is here.
That's on a study done between 10 countries in Europe and the Middle East. Now, that's not the interesting statistics. The interesting part of this is that the 5 and 6-year-olds in this were all from the UAE and Saudi. That's the thing that blew my mind. What does the current landscape look like? So let's talk about teens, especially like 11 to 17. 50% of all teens today spend 5 hours or more on their devices per day. By the way, this is from Common Sense Media. They just released something in September 2023, this guide, A Week in the Life of a Young Person's Smartphone Use. You can find the full report on Common Sense Media. Teens will get 237 notifications per day, a quarter of them during school hours. They use their phones at least once during school for an average of 43 minutes. Phones are always on, they're disruptive, they're picked up anywhere between 72 to 100 times a day. And once we pick it up, we all know one thing pulls the next and it's hard to put down. TikTok is where they'll spend several hours a day and also during the late night. And about a quarter of the kids surveyed, there was about 3,500 kids that were surveyed, a quarter of them have Netflix on their phones or laptops, and they watch it in the background, whether it's in class or while they're doing homework or while they're doing chores. What about parents? Parents are also on their smartphones for several hours a day. We are frustrated, we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed, we are struggling to manage our kids' use. And what happens when we're struggling is that conflict will follow. Parents also feel really helpless against school policy. This is from my research, which is soon to be published in a scientific journal. And I've presented it in the British Psychological Society and the International Psychology Conference of Dubai. I presented some novel research. Part of it you'll see dispersed within this presentation. But one of the main things I found in my qualitative study is that parents are really frustrated because they feel that school policies go against what we're trying to do at home. So we know we need to reduce screen time, we need to but homework is online and kids are smart. They know how to bypass all of that. So what do we do? But before we go into that, I really want to explain to you why we spend so much time online. Has anyone heard of the hooked model? All right. So imagine you wanted to create an app. You're an app developer, and you wanted to create an app that was going to capture your audience's attention and keep them using this app because attention is the new currency, the new economy, right? So what would I do? I'm going to use the example of a 12-year-old, okay? Usually, as an app, I need an internal trigger. I need to, create a need for something. What's the internal trigger? What does the user really want? When I'm 12, 13, what do I want? I want to fit in. I want to be like my friends. I want to know what's going on. That's the internal trigger. Let's take Snapchat for an example. There's an external trigger that I'm going to need to embed in the app. What is it that's going to get the user to my product? All right? I'll give you examples in a second. The second thing I would need to create is an action. What is the simplest behavior that I can put in this app so that the person can, get a reward? Because when we're rewarded, we're going to increase that behavior. Is this reward fulfilling? But here's the kicker. Is it going to leave you wanting more? Because if I get my fulfillment and I walk away, I'm done. I'm never going to use the app again. How do I do that? I make the reward variable. Imagine you have a fridge. Every time we open the fridge, the light comes on, right? That's an expected consequence. If every time I open the fridge, the light comes on, I stop noticing the light. But if every time I open the fridge, a new dessert pops up, then, hey, I want to keep opening the fridge. Like, what's coming up next? And then what is that little bit of work that I have to do to increase the likelihood of my user coming to my app? All right? So with Snapchat, this is a screenshot from my daughter's phone. Luna is typing. I haven't even sent a message, but she's getting a notification that I am typing. That's the trigger. The action is she'll open the chat and start talking, right? No matter what she's doing, I've got her attention, and she's going to drop that and open the app and chat. The reward is acceptance, talking to friends, emojis, how many likes, how many photos. There's so many rewards. But what's the investment? Who knows streaks? All right, so streaks is something on Snapchat that keeps kids coming back and being hooked. My daughter spoke to this person for 143 days straight. That's the investment. If I stop chatting with her for a day, this resets to 0.
So clever.
Very clever. So let's move on to parenting today. Parenting has never been this challenging. Actually, in a survey, they found that parenting is harder today than it was 20 years ago. Why? Because our homes are saturated with tech. Social technology is basically a term I'll be using, and it's any device connected to internet that allows for social interaction. So it's all your gaming, your social media, everything. Before the pandemic, 90% of American teens were reporting daily use, and 50% of them were almost always online before the pandemic. Today, these numbers are exponentially higher. Why are we concerned? Because screen time is skyrocketing and replacing offline life. Because social media accounts are being created at younger ages. And because new device purchases are continuing despite our oversaturated homes. Can I get the PS5? Can I get the Xbox? I'm the only one who doesn't have a phone. All that stuff, we just keep buying them. And it's interesting because a lot of us don't want to, yet we still do it. And our concerns are more than valid because having access to a multitude of devices, coupled with an overdependence on social technologies, is leading us to more potential exposure, leading the children to more potential exposure to inappropriate, addictive, dangerous content, cyberbullying, the works. You know it all. I don't need to explain it. And a reduced biopsychosocial activities. So what we need biologically, movement, our psychology, our relationships, our emotional regulation, and our social activities. So face-to-face socialization's going down. That's necessary for mental health, for physical health. So many things are being replaced by being online. These anxieties are fueled by headlines like this. Facebook knows that Instagram is toxic for teen girls. This was a couple of years ago. Is social media the tobacco of the 21st century? It's really easy to have sensational, headlines that are scary. It's much easier. It sells, right? But the truth is, if you actually look at the data, right, we do not have an empirical consensus. Like we cannot simply state that, there's a horrible effect of social media on mental health and well-being in youth. There is it's correlational at best. The studies are cross-sectional, so it's like small sample sizes over a short period of time. So I can't come and say that, hey, your kids are depressed because of social media. And because it doesn't apply to everyone, right? Is that to say that it's not doing something? No. Parental intuition and clinicians and what we are seeing as parents is not really reflecting scientific literature. Why? Because the changes are so rapid and because research takes time. All right, so what's going to happen in a few years down the line, 10 years, we'll find out. But for now, research is split in half. It's utopian. Oh, it's great. Our kids need, future tech. They need to be informed. They need to know how to live with it. Correct. And oh my God, it's all doom and gloom. Suicide rates are on the rise. Depression and anxiety is on the rise. And then parents go, oh my God, my kid is depressed. My kid is addicted. And they're heavy words to use. Let's look at parenting before and now. In the past, parenting was quite simple. That's why it was easier 20 years ago. All we had to do was keep them safe, make sure they're growing, and maintain their biopsychosocial activity. But today, the parenting role has evolved greatly because of technology. You simply cannot be a parent today without putting the effort and being a digital parent. And that's because our modern day digital practices are enmeshed so well into the processes of parenting in 100 ways. What is digital parenting? Very simply, the incorporation of media in parental processes, and it involves that we guide, we manage, we regulate our kids' relationship with their devices. Technically, it's complex and it's nuanced, and it includes like us monitoring their devices, making rules and enforcing them, fostering digital literacy skills, which ASD is doing a wonderful job with, teaching critical thinking, protecting from harm, supporting online education, capitalizing on online benefits and opportunities, all right? Very technical terms, that's what the studies say. What does it look like in real life? I'm the only 4th grader that doesn't have a phone. I'm the only 6th grader that doesn't have Snapchat. No one uses WhatsApp anymore, it's for old people. If I don't have Snapchat, my friends won't talk to me. Can I get TikTok? Why are you so mean? Can I get Instagram? You never let me game with my friends when they're online. Why am I the only kid that has to sleep so early? Right? Have we all heard that? Yeah, I see nodding and shaking heads. We have certain digital parenting styles. The research started in the 80s about how we used to watch, TV viewership. And in the 80s, they decided that there were 3 parenting styles. Restrictive, where we limit time or content that kids saw online, on TV. Active, where parents give their opinions and their interpretations regarding what their kids are watching. And co-viewing, let's sit and watch a movie together, but we don't have to talk about it. Over the years, when gaming, internet, smartphones came about, in 2008, they're like, you know what, we need to add 2 more styles. Those can still apply, but we also have all these ways to limit our kids' use and to monitor and to have, modems and technical restrictions and let me put some software. And then they also added monitoring because people started to check their kids' phones and to, snoop and look at messages and, checking their history. But over the years, in 2017, they're like, this is too complicated. It kind of falls under 2 general things. I'm either a restrictive parent, where I restrict, take away, tell them you only get 2 hours on the weekend, I limit websites, whatever, or I'm an enabling parent. And enabling took in the 3 from before, which is the active mediation, where I talk and I, help, where I might sometimes employ technical restrictions like putting, blocking over 18 content and stuff like that, and monitoring. Here are the research findings. When children spend a lot of time on their devices, and when you restrict their use, you're gonna have conflict. Who's experiencing that? Yeah. Here's another new piece of information. This came from my study. Parents are now resorting to restriction via distraction. How many of you have kids in after-school activities? Or like tutoring, or let's go to our friend's play date, or whatever it is. Let's keep them distracted so that they can get off their devices. This is one of the newest ways that parents are finding is helping them. And it just reduces device use and downtime. Now, a lot of us parents experienced restrictive upbringing as children. What did that result in? That resulted in us rebelling, keeping secrets, still doing what we want to do behind our parents' backs if we needed to because we're resourceful. How's that looking today? We say, you're not allowed to do this and that, you can't have Snapchat. There's Finsta accounts, fake Instagram accounts that they're creating, or they can go to their friends' houses and use it, or you put screen time limits and they can figure it out. Like it's just a Google search away. But the most successful way to digitally parent, and here's where we're gonna go next, it's about relationships. Study after study after study is showing that open communication, a trust-based relationship with your child, is the only way to protect them from harm. Because studies show us that kids who voluntarily disclose information to their children about what they're doing online are actually gonna undergo less risky behavior because there's that connection. I don't need to hide, I don't need to do anything wrong. Mom's got my back, dad's got my back. What's the solution? How do I get there? Now, with distractions all around us and we're like unable to thrive because we're constantly distracted, it can look like spending too much time online at the expense of doing what we need to do. So we then become consumed with comparisons. We might experience cyberbullying, loss of attention, ill feelings. We are continuously multitasking and overwhelmed. And here's the other thing. No one's listening to the kids. Seriously, no one's listening to the kids. Very few people are trying to understand what this generation is going through. And we will never truly know what it feels like because They were born into this. And so this is a wonderful book. I suggest you read it. It's called Behind Their Screens, What Teens Are Facing and Adults Are Missing. And in the book, they're saying our kids need our empathy. We can't keep eye rolling and fighting, and it's just their reality. They cannot live it any other way. So what do we need? You were asking me, like, what do I do about gaming? It's not about the little things. It's a complete mindset shift. We need a complete mindset shift to do this. Our role as parents is to be the scaffolding. You know how when you're building a building and you've got scaffolding going up to protect and to, go up with the building as we go up. We're the scaffolding. And in order to teach our kids to do something, we have to have that skill first. We need to achieve our own digital well-being. We need to understand the pull of the screens and to teach them the skills to find balance. Research after research shows modeling. If you have excessive smartphone use, if you're always on your screen, please don't ask your kids to get off of theirs. They're not going to listen. We need connection. If we have a great connection with our kids and we can talk to them and not control them, this is the other mindset shift. This is not about control. This is about open dialogue, trust-based conversation, the ability for us to keep, talking to them. And we need to have some skills on how to coach our children. So to do that, you don't need to be tech savvy. You don't need to know the latest thing because literally things are changing by the week, right? I can't keep up. I used to try to keep up, but now I can't. So why is it important to understand the pull of the screens? Because rather than focusing on the behavior, my kid is always online. He comes from school and he's gaming 24 hours with his friends. I can't get him to get up and read and do his homework. That's a behavior. My child is always on social media. Behavior, right? So rather than focusing on the behavior, and rather than focusing on doing the impossible to control that behavior, I need to be focusing on teaching basic digital well-being skills and how to find balance between online and offline life. How do I do that? What is the skill? What is the skill? So if you think of a child that hits, all right? A child hitting, that's the behavior. I'm looking at the hitting. The child hit someone. What is the skill the child is missing? I can't look at the hitting. I got to look at what is it that my kid needs. What's the skill that he needs to learn so that he doesn't hit? Is it emotional regulation? Is it understanding our anger? Is it finding a different way to understand our body and to deal? Kids learn that as they grow because we talk about it. But with digital stuff, we just say, get off your phone. How? How am I going to get off my phone? If there's one thing I want you to leave with, it's this scenario, okay? Imagine you have a child and you have been led to believe that the only way to protect them is by controlling their tech use through dictating their screen time, using blocking software, telling them that they only get 2 minutes a day, 2 hours a weekend, just being really controlling and telling them exactly what to do, coming in and being like, hey, it's bedtime, you need to get up. Hey, you didn't read your homework, you didn't do your reading. You need to do this, you need to do that. If I'm constantly there telling my kid what to do, what happens when that kid is 18, is going off to university, and now he's alone in a dorm or in an apartment or wherever he is or she is, and they've got all these devices, which, by the way, are just going to continue to come around. What do we do then, right? Have we taught our kids self-regulation? Have we taught our kids emotional regulation? Have we taught our kids to check in with their bodies and see how they feel after 4 hours of Fortnite or whatever it is they're gaming with in the afternoon, right? Have we taught them responsibility? Back to the studies, I'd like to read this to you. Studies have shown that parental restrictions discourage children's agency and may even create a negative dynamic whereby children with restrictive parents learn not to draw parental attention to their internet use. And so that leaves parents less informed, less able to guide their kids, right? So that's the mindset shift. How do I go from thinking I just need to restrict to how do I do this? What if instead of restriction, we invested our time in talking about our concerns with our kids? We asked them about their online experiences. We teach them to critically think and appraise content. We ask them to reflect on their feelings after tech use. We teach them habits that help them self-regulate. We talk about our family values, and we help them tie these values to their online choices, right? One of the things I love the most about ASD is that values are plastered everywhere, right? When I came in 11 years ago, I'm like, values? Huh, I literally had never thought about them. Responsibility, respect, integrity, excellence, compassion. They are all encompassing. But every family is different. You may really believe in these values, but you may have other ones, like honesty, like communication, like relationships, kindness, outdoor movement. Whatever it is, every family has their values. Above all, we are so judgy. We are judging our kids. We are judging other parents. We are quick, very, very quick to judge. But are we non-judgmentally helping them to use tech better? Are we able to do that? I am very quickly going to go over the summary of the findings in my research. The reason I'd like to do that is because when I embarked on this journey, I found that there is a massive gap in research. So there have been over 80 meta-analyses. That means summaries of research that have been done, okay, as of 2020. And it was interesting because I went through all of these to write my paper, and I'm like, where are the parent perspectives? Parent perspectives are missing from research. You've got people thinking about, okay, the impact of tech on mental health, the impact of tech, depression, suicide, are kids more depressed, are girls, more than boys? They looked at everything. But we're the gatekeepers. We're the ones giving our kids phones. We're the ones protecting. We're the ones supposedly teaching. And there's no parental guidance, or very little. It's starting to happen this year. I'm seeing it everywhere, all right? But when we needed it the most, in 2020, it wasn't there. So my research found two overarching themes. First one was digital parenting fatigue. And the first theme was that parents are frustrated, exhausted, and struggling to manage their preteen social technology use. My study was about preteens. It was based in the UAE for all the reasons I had given above about the UAE being affluent, high tech. It's a different environment. And I wanted to focus on a slightly different culture, which is like a mixing, a pot of multicultural diversity. Parents are conflicted and concerned because while we know it's not all doom and gloom, so we know there are benefits to tech, we are also concerned that our kids are getting exposed to inappropriate or addictive content at younger and younger ages. The third theme under that was that there is no rest for the weary because all downtime equals screen time today, right? Kids come home, downtime, if it's not activities, if they don't have homework, if a parent isn't there to tell them what to do with their time, the phone comes out, the PlayStation comes out, the Xbox comes out, the social media. And this was the novel finding from my research that got a lot of attention, that our generation, from a collectivist culture, right? Because there are different cultures in the world. In ASD, it's a melting pot of people who come from individualistic cultures and people who come from collectivist societies. And this is why people will never see eye to eye on values, or it's just that people are different, right? So how are people from collectivist cultures dealing? And what my study found is that parents, like me, from a collectivist culture, are starting to move from restriction to enablement through dialogue. What that looks like is that parents are choosing to parent differently to our own upbringing in a collectivist culture. And they're doing that by guiding and enabling their preteens through ongoing necessary dialogue. Why is the dialogue important? Because we know the risk of exposure to inappropriate content is happening at younger and younger ages. Most of the participants in my study had said that no one spoke to them about their periods. Most women grew up getting a period not knowing what it was. And you can imagine what that does to a person. The equivalent of that today is a child stumbling on pornography. If I don't prepare my child, and if I do not have these conversations earlier and earlier, it used to be that the average age that a child will stumble upon pornography is 8 years old. Now it's younger. It's 6. So if you're not having conversations with your kids earlier, the risk of them stumbling upon stuff and then asking friends. So here's the thing. When you are the source of information, your kid's gonna look at you and go, wow, my mom knows everything. My dad knows everything. I can talk to them. They don't yell. They're not gonna kill me, you know? I need to prepare them for that. I need to be like, whatever you see online, I'm not gonna be mad at you, but come and talk to me. That's what the research is uncovering. So if I know that enabling trust-based digital parenting style is vital to help me thwarting potential and online risk, how do I help people achieve that? Because those were the guidelines that were missing. I went looking for these guidelines. I was a parent of a preteen and a teen, and I had no idea what to do. And everywhere I looked, I wrote a thesis on the matter, and I still couldn't find the guidelines. And this is where digital well-being comes in. So even though I did a master's, it was my digital well-being certification that actually helped me. What is well-being? Well-being is feeling good, so our positive emotions, happiness, contentment, and the ability to function well. So if I can develop my potential, if I have control over my life, if I have a sense of purpose, if I have positive relationships, I have well-being. So it's the ability to handle life's stressors, adapt to difficult circumstances, and to thrive. And well-being encompasses community well-being, social well-being, mental, physical, financial, and work. So what is digital well-being? It's the extent to which we can have well-being in our digital lives. So having the ability to handle online stress, engage in healthy digital habits and behavior in a way that where we can use our technology to help us thrive. When we have that, we're good. Oops, sorry. In a nutshell, because I'm gonna go through this really fast. I really tried to put everything in there for everybody's benefit. So 3 steps to digital well-being. In coaching, it's usually, you're here, point A. You want to get to point B. So my kid comes home every day and games for 4 hours. That's point A, right? I open my screen time on my Apple phone and I see that I'm online for 7 hours a day. That's my point A. So assessing our current digital habits, all right? I'm going to first talk about the adults, and then I'm going to go into the kids. Then I need to build a new identity based on my values and vision. And then I'm going to start changing my habits one at a time according to my goals. Oops, sorry, wrong button. So you are here. Everybody knows how to get that, right? That was actually mine a year ago. Happy to report that it's down to 3. If I am using 7 hours a day on my phone, that's 49 hours a week, 196 hours a month, 96 days a year, that's 3 months nonstop of my year. 3 out of 12 months, I'm like this, right? Look at your numbers and do the math. James Clear wrote Atomic Habits. People have heard of that book, right? So what does he say? The key to building lasting habits is to focus on creating a new identity first. So your current behavior is just a reflection of the current identity. What you do now is a mirror image of the type of person that you believe you are, whether it's conscious or unconscious. So to change behavior for good, you need to start to believe that you're someone else. You need to start with the new identity. So who am I? Am I someone that spends 7 hours on her phone? No, I don't want to be that person. I want to be someone that spends 4 hours on her phone. Am I going to do that overnight? No, but I'm going to believe that that's my new identity, right? 4 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom with a podcast. My new identity is I'm a licensed psychologist. Did it just happen overnight? No. Small habits, but you can do that too. How do we do that? How do we create an identity without, if we've never thought about our values? Our identity needs to be based on our values. These are just a very small sample of values that you can look up. You can go online and write values and explore them, because a lot of the time we don't really know values. It's not something we consciously think about or talk about. But there are lists online, and you can go online and check and look for, hey, what resonates with me the most? What am I truly about? It's a sense of finding purpose and discovering who you are. Then I change my goals one at a time I change my habits one at a time according to my goals. So if I want to be on my phone less, the simplest step, turn off notifications, hide some apps, put the phone in the other room. Now don't go doing all of that in one day. It's not going to work. You will fail. One at a time until you can do it. So if I know that when I work, I'm distracted, so I'm just going to put my phone in the other room so that I can focus a bit longer. One habit. I do it every day. And then I get better. How do I help my kid with that? You just have to ask yourself one question and ask them the same question. What is your time online replacing from real life, right? That's all you need to know. What is your time online replacing? We need 4 fundamental things for healthy child development. We need physical health and movement, time outdoors, playing, parks, sports, footballs, basketball, whatever it is. We need emotional well-being and regulation, a sense of safety, a sense of understanding, a sense of belonging, a way to learn how to regulate ourselves. If we know how to regulate ourselves, we can teach our kids how to regulate themselves. Mental stimulation, board games, reading, studying. We need that for our mental health. And we need healthy relationships in real life. So even though our kids are telling us, but mom, I'm gaming online, I'm with all my friends, right? It's healthy, it's great. They're happy, they're screaming, and like, I don't know who else here, but it's like the whole playground is in my living room at home, right? Am I the only one? Okay, so that's good, it makes me happy. But if that's the only way they're socializing, I might want to reconsider, because we need the face-to-face. There's actually an interesting study that shows that babies today have less eye contact with their mothers, because while the mom is breastfeeding, she's scrolling on her phone, right? It's heartbreaking, and we don't think about our actions, but we're actually showing that. We're showing that, studies are showing that white brain matter is decreasing because of something called myelination, because we're building so many new neurons and we're not strengthening the myelination around the neuron. There's just so much that I can go into, but I literally can't have an hour. So with our kids, we need to be gradual. Make goals with them, change habits, baby steps. And how are we going to do that? We're not going to go and download a contract online and be like, sign here, right? Who's done that? Everybody's done that. All right? That doesn't work. Because the minute you do that, the kid's like, that's not fair. There's a power imbalance here. Why are you deciding? Why? We cannot treat our kids the way that we were treated. It's just a completely different era. So they need to be on board. How do I get them on board? Okay, we need to remember no threats, unreasonable restrictions, and scare tactics do not work. If I make it a positive experience and I keep in mind their needs and their desires, I'm less likely to hit a wall. If I know my kid's social, emotional, and developmental stage that they're at, so my 11-year-old is very different to my 14-year-old, very different to a 6-year-old, and very different to a KG, right? It's our job today. Knowledge is at our fingertips. It's our job to find out where our children are and to meet them there. And lastly, we need to agree as a family that together we'll be creating more balance between online and offline. That's back to the modeling. If I'm on my phone 8 hours a day, and then I keep telling my kid, get off your phone or get off gaming, I'm sure you've all heard it. You're always on your phone. You're always on your phone. Why is it okay for you to go on your phone, right? So here's a small strategy that I'm going to leave you with. Oops, it's backwards. 4 things to consider when you want to talk to your child about their digital well-being. Look at time management, space management, relationship management, and self-management. If you manage, not in one sitting, not in a week, not in a month, okay? It's gonna take time. If you manage to speak about these things over a period of time and to agree with your child and to raise their awareness and to get them to understand what's happening in their body, what's happening to their relationships, and what's happening in school. If you can manage these, You're going to get there. Time management. The easiest way I was able to show my kids how much time they could actually use online, or to ask them. So like if I told my kid, sweetie, how many hours do you need a day, right? Because we were at hours. We were at like 5-6 hours a day. And on the weekend, it's like the minute they wake up, they run to their devices. They're gaming at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, all right? I know I'm not the only one because I can hear all the other kids in my living room at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, all right? We sat down, and by the way, this took weeks. Really, honestly, it took weeks. I got a piece of paper. I wrote down the 24 hours of the day. I highlighted 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., you're sleeping, right? I then highlight 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., you're in school. 4 p.m. to whatever you're in activities. Whatever your day looks like. Block it out like this. Color it. Get the child to do it, right? And then you say, all right, how much free time do you actually have left before bedtime? And how much how much time do you need to read? Do you have homework? Have you socialized? Have you gone outdoors? Have you played with a friend in real life today? And quick answer, they go, I did that in school. I went out in recess. I ran in recess. I spoke to my friend. Yeah, but you know what? Let's go out together. Let's go for a walk. Let's go biking, right? Block it out. When they see it in front of them and they go, actually, I only have 2 hours that are free, like from 6 until I sleep. But then I also have spoken to them about the importance of sleep, the importance of switching off a device half an hour before you sleep so that you can wind down, so that your body can start producing the melatonin that it needs to sleep. These are things and communications and subjects that we need to become aware of and talk about. Because if I just tell my kid, no screens half an hour before bedtime, yeah, that's not going to go down well. But if I explain why, and if I talk to them about circadian rhythms, you don't have to know what it is.
Like 2 hours. Is 30 minutes enough according to what you read?
So what I've read is 30 minutes before bedtime is the minimum.
Yeah.
The minimum. But in our very busy Dubai life, where the kids have activities and then they come home and then they need to eat dinner and then they have to do homework, they want to use some device time. They want to connect with friends. At the end of the day, this is where I was saying, what are their needs and desires? Because you really need to take that into consideration as well, right?
I wanted to add, so the 6th graders went to Greece this year.
Yeah.
And they didn't have devices or phones. My son, the first thing he told me was, what I noticed was that I could sleep in seconds.
There you go.
Versus tossing and turning on his own. And we
Yeah.
didn't even bring that up.
Yeah.
So at least that awareness.
And so that's the
and
awareness I was
discipline.
talking about.
Yeah.
How do you feel after? So Saturday around 11 a.m., I'll walk into the door, like into the bedroom, the living room. I'll be like, how's it going? It's getting really loud in here. You guys excited? Yeah. How do you feel? Can you come with me for a second? And I'll get him to literally close his eyes and be like, how do you feel? He goes, okay, Mom, can you come inside and ask me to leave? So sometimes they need our help. It's that little bit of communication. I don't want to leave my friends. I don't want to be the loser that like gets up. Can you come in? Sure. Hi. Like I'll yell, can you get up? And then he goes, thanks. Right? So little things, communication. Space management. No devices in bedrooms. Like study after study. No devices in bedrooms. Do what you need to do. But I need my alarm to wake up. Buy an old school alarm clock.
So where do these
Living room, kitchen table, you decide. You decide. Living room, kitchen table, be with them in their room if they must. But if you have a laptop or a computer set up in your room, I would highly recommend you take it out. If you've got gaming in your room, please take it out. Nothing good happens in the dark when a child is in their room with a device. So start thinking about the spaces in your house that are going to be device-free. Bedrooms is one. Bathrooms is another. All right? And that was an interesting one because I had to stop taking the phone to the bathroom myself because the first thing they said is, you take your phone to the bathroom. Okay, fine. Here's my phone. I'm going to the bathroom. Okay? Meal times, kitchen tables, no devices over there. Driving. There's something magical about driving, which I'm sure you all know. Kids can get chatty in the car. Some kids want quiet and they don't want to talk. But there's something about eye contact and teenagers or preteens. When I'm not looking at them in the eye, they're going to talk. That's why they talk more in bedtime, because you're kind of like next to them or not really like staring at them. And in cars, they love to talk. There's no threat. Eye contact can be seen as a threat when you're a preteen or a teenager. And then outdoor. When we're out in the park, leave your phone at home. When you go to soccer, leave your phone at home. When you're at basketball practice, leave your phone at home. All right? Or find a way. I can't tell you what to do. Everybody's different. Just consider space management. Where are the areas in your house or your life where you don't want phones? Now, relationship management. This is vital. All right? In real life, over digital interaction all the time. But more and more studies are showing that if we create micro communities, we are more able to help our kids. So, in a group of 8 boys who meet every day to game after school, what's my micro community in that situation? The 8 moms or 7 moms that my kid is gaming with, right? Start a chat group. Hey guys, how about we agree that all the kids go to bed at a certain time, or that we let them all, like if we agree together, like I know that these are my kids' 8 friends, they're always gaming together. If my kid is the only one who needs to get up at 9 p.m. to sleep, I'm gonna struggle. And I know that everybody has different timings or whatever. But get together, create your micro communities. Talk to your schools, your teachers, your friends. Figure it out as a community. There was a movement, wait until the 8th, right? That did not work. It did not happen. Why? Because within our community, it just wasn't working. Because one kid isolated, it's very hard to swim against the current. But if the whole current is going, much easier, right? They all went to Greece, they didn't have their phones, they were all fine. The school did that. The school made that happen, right? So you and your micro communities make it happen. And then lastly, the most important relationship is the one between you and your child. If you're looking at me now and you're going, you're saying all these things, but I don't have a good relationship with my child. We're not the kind that talks. My child isn't talkative. My child doesn't disclose. My child this and that. Then you forget everything I said and you work on that relationship. If you do not have that strong relationship with your child, you cannot protect them from online harm. That is the one message and the one mindset shift that I have for you. Unfortunately, we are all competing with the attention that is being stolen through the devices, through the games, right? I can't compete with Snapchat. Life, real life, cannot compete with the excitement that happens on a device. But what can? Have you ever walked into a room, your kid's on a device, you say, get off, it doesn't work. But, hey, do you want to do X, Y, and Z with me? Something that they actually like. They're going to get up because kids really like the connection. They want to know and feel that they're important and that the things that they like are the things that you like. And so if we want them to get off their devices, we have to invest the time into the relationship. I need to get on the floor with them if they're younger and I need to play with them. I need to invest more time and take them out. This is why parenting is harder. I need to drive. I need to create play dates. I need to create micro communities and talk to my kids' friends. But it is the reality and it is what we have now, right? And then self-management. Remember that piece where I said when they go to university, if they haven't learned to self-regulate, if they haven't learned to listen to their body, if they haven't learned responsibility and respect for others, and if they haven't learned to do that intrinsically in every aspect of their life, they're going to struggle. So let's say your kid loves to watch food videos on YouTube or like all these like whatever it is they like to do. You know what? I'd really like it if you created as much as you consumed, right? Again, with the balance, online, offline. I don't mind you watching videos online, but how about for every like 5 recipes you watch on YouTube, can you make one for us? They'll get up, they'll do it, and eat it, no matter how horrible it tastes. Eat it, get involved, do it with them. Create more than you consume. And obviously the self-regulation part. Now, you're gonna fail, they're gonna fail. This is really hard, okay? It's not gonna happen overnight, but we must celebrate the small wins. My kid came to me and said, hey, let's go for a walk. Awesome. My kid came to me and said to me, hey mom, call me off gaming. Awesome. Small wins, right? You start looking for the positives, you start looking for the small wins and focusing less on what they're doing wrong and how many hours they're doing it and all of that stuff. You start to then, okay, I'm building towards something. But I'm not doing it alone. They're doing it. And the only way I can get them to do it is to openly talk about this stuff every single day, or like, maybe not every single day, whenever the opportunity presents itself, and to keep lines of communication open. What's happening with your friends at school? Hey, what's going on? I know everything that is happening on Snapchat. And I'm not magical. I don't have a superpower. My kids are not special that they want to talk, but I made it my life's mission. I wanted my kids to be able to come to me and tell me anything, knowing that I'm not going to lose it, that I'm not going to yell, that I'm not going to punch them, that first and foremost, I'm going to help them, and then if I need to deal with something, I'll deal with it. But if I've created a safe space at home, it's hard work, but it's doable. If that is your goal and that is your mindset shift, that the only way I can protect my children moving forward, open trust-based communications, we're doing this together. This is hard. I'm not judging you. I'm not blaming you. Tech is addictive. Come, let me talk to you about dopamine. Let me talk to you about brains. Let's find out together. They come and ask you something. The other day, just final story, my son's dying to get Snapchat. I'm the only 6th grader that doesn't have Snapchat. Okay, and that's a really big struggle for me. I was one of those parents who said, I'm never giving my kids social media before they're 16. My daughter is now in 9th grade. I really think she was one of the last people. She just got Snapchat in 9th grade, right? It's hard. The tears, the crying, the no one, I'm not included. It's really hard. Would I rather keep fighting my child, or would I rather teach my child how to use it properly? Do we give kids the keys to the car and be like, off you go? We don't. We drive with them. We give them driver's ed. They drive in smaller streets, and then they go out, and it takes years. Yet with social media and phones, we just give them the phone. We go, here you go. Enjoy, And then we wonder where things go wrong. Whereas if you're thinking about giving social media, you know what? Let's put it on my phone. Let's use it together. Let's see how it works. Let's see that you are going to mess up. What are the rules? Do we send photos? Do we join chat groups? That was another thing. I'm like, no chat groups. But then I found out that there are like 1 million chat groups. And I'm like, okay, can you be an observer without contributing? Sure, on the big one. But with my 5, 6 friends, no, I want to chat. Okay, great. Where are the limits? What are you okay to send? What are you not okay to send? Is that something you would say to them in real life, to their face? Is that something you're comfortable with grandma seeing? Is that something you're okay with me seeing? Is that something you're okay with Mr. McMillan seeing? If not, probably don't send it. Think about it. The conversations are never ending. That is the one thing I want to leave you with today. So, I know I gave you a lot. I know that if I could sum it up in one word, fix your relationship with kids, find a way to get closer. It is hard work. We need to be there for them. I'll continue to do my part to spread the message. I'm around. I really tried to put everything in one presentation. It was so hard. However, there's a lot of stuff we could talk about. Attention, memory, creativity, boredom, how to do this, right? I'm available. You can reach out to me. You can find me on Undistracted Parenting on Instagram, or our family email here at ASD. I'm always around. And that's it. Thank you.